So gate 4 as well. This is one of Satan's also his ways as well, self-righteousness. If you reject authority, you naturally are going to have to become, or you became already very self-righteous. If you reject someone's authority and you criticize that boss, that manager, that pastor, whoever it is, you are naturally self-righteous, thinking that you can do a much better job than that person. I would have done this, I would have done that. You are righteous in yourself. You could do a much better job than that person. You bet that self-righteousness often does reject many authorities. Satan himself is very self-righteous. He is very religious. Obviously, he is a megalomaniac, an egomaniac, and he wants it his way, and he wants to be God. He's the one that wants to be worshipped. Obviously, we follow his footsteps, and we're in the cosmic system so long that we also want to be worshipped. We also want to be God, and that's the ultimate in arrogance when you reach the level of God. Okay, so self-righteousness, that's very much part of the cosmic system. And just so that you can know and remember is that the sinful nature does not only have that lascivious side, that immoral side that are so manifest and so easy to detect, lasciviousness, antinomianism. It is part of the sin nature. Sin is sin. And the antinomianism, anti-law. And yes, you bet that immoral side, that is part of the sin nature. But what many believers fail to understand is that the sin nature has another side, and that is the self-righteous side. I usually call it, what do I call it? Legalism and asceticism. Many of these good works that you do, they are not part of the plan of God, because you're not filled with the Holy Spirit and you're not producing it from all that doctrine that you learned inside of your soul. You're producing it from your own sin nature. The sin nature produces many good works. Just as Satan first rebelled, and to justify that rebellion, he created his own system of human good and evil, angelic good and evil. We also, in our sin nature, have this same policy, and we create our own system of good and evil to feel better about ourselves, to feel much better than those out there who are very, those homosexuals out there and those guys that are very lascivious. I want to feel better than them. And so you engage in some sort of self-righteousness. They're both evil. They're both part of the sin nature. A lot of human good and great deeds that many people are doing, they're doing from the energy of the flesh. And that is not part of the plan of God. At the judgment seat of Christ, if they are believers, their great deeds are going to be burned as wood, hay, and stubble. And self-righteousness is full of self-justification. That person who's self-righteous thinks he's much greater than what he really is. He's a little peewee dumb butt, and he might be many times much more immoral than those who are overtly immoral out in the street, but yet he thinks he's much better than everyone else, because he self-justifies himself all the time. And he thinks that if he's a believer, that a plan of God must only goes on with him. That if he messes up, that somehow God cannot take up the slack. Somehow God cannot provide. So therefore he engages in a whole lot of good works so that he can say, it all depends on me. It all depends on me. And self-righteousness obviously criticizes many people. Now, I must emphasize that even lascivious and antinomian types of people, immoral people, they're also very self-righteous because everyone tries to justify themselves. So in the beginning, I should have just put lasciviousness here. Sorry. Legalism. There we go. Legalism and asceticism. Why right now am I making that correction? Because self-righteousness goes on both sides. You have the immoral types, very self-righteous, and you have the moral types, very self-righteous as well. I would say that these are a little bit much hard to reach, because they're actually many times are producing good works and great things and living a respectable lifestyle. And that's why it's many times difficult to reach them, because they know and they're so justified and they think they've already made it. They think that there's no room for correction. There's no need for 1 John 1:9 and to advance in the plan of God. So self-righteousness is a terrible thing because it's full of self-justification and it blinds you. To the extent that you justify yourself, you divorce yourself from reality. To the extent that you divorce yourself from reality and you believe the lie, you're on your way to psychosis. A lot of mental illnesses are based on believing a lie. And so there you have the psychotic person going after an object, and he cannot evaluate why he's going after that object, that irrational and divorced from reality object. We begin by believing the lie. Okay, gate 4. So, and many times the self-righteous type say that person, that one boy that grew up in a good Christian home, he finally reacts. And then he becomes much worse than those who were already degenerate or immorally degenerate in the first place. He becomes much worse than them and he reacts. He gets into sexual arrogance. That is gate 5. Gate 3 is authority arrogance. Gate 4 is self-righteous arrogance. Gate 5 is sexual arrogance. And this is the rejection of love. I mean, you're having sex, rejecting love. Sex is an expression of love. It's an expression of romance inside of marriage and must be inside of marriage. But this, you make sex an arrogant lifestyle. Now, making the difference between just a simple sin of, say, that you committed a sexual act, you messed up, all right, you use 1 John 1:9, you get back in the system. This, gate 5, is making it a whole arrogant lifestyle out of sex. And you find many people trying to obtain their self-worth and their happiness and their sense of superiority through sex. And they rely on their little cheap abilities because they know a few tricks. Or you have those folks that become homosexuals because they were such failures in the past with women, or vice versa, the women who were failures with the men and they become lesbians. That's loserism. But they make this a lifestyle. It's not just one sexual act. They actually make it a whole system of arrogance. And that doesn't only involve just fornication, homosexuality, lesbianism. It involves other areas. It also involves the area of becoming insatiable. You get into bestiality, pederasty, necrophilia, and all these different things. And so gate 5, many times you react out of self-righteousness and you get into that. This is what happened also in our country. There was a whole lot of self-righteousness in the 1950s where we did not give the homosexuals a lot of freedom. As a result, you were creating the environment of reaction. And that's when the 1960s happened. And you have the sexual revolution, you have all the late 60s and the hippie movement, and all that asinine movement, etc. Okay, gate 6 is the gate of criminality. Now, when a country cannot control its criminality, you bet that you're allowing your enemies inside to destroy your country. You're about to implode. Foreign countries are enemies on the outside. Those who are your enemies, like Russia, China, Iran, etc., all the Eastern Bloc. But criminals are your inner enemies inside. And that's why the police officer is very much necessary, very necessary. And we do not shun police officers. We respect police officers here. And I'll shake their hands because it is a difficult job, especially nowadays when it's so borderline. Do I do my job? Do I protect myself? Or do I allow myself to just be ran over or get killed? Or it's a very difficult job. It's very hard for them. Yes, there are those bad cops, and just as there are many bad things in many bad areas, but yeah, criminality must be restricted. You bet that when we cannot control criminality, our country is about to go down. And when you do not execute through the capital punishment, if you do not execute the rapists and the killers and all those who deserve it, you remove that fear from all those potential criminals. A lot of these guys, they're animals, they don't understand reason. You have to demonstrate that you're going to kill a lot of these through capital punishment. You have no need for that criminal to remain alive, no additional information that he might provide for a future case or a pending case, etc. Then remove him already. There's no need to have all these prisons packed with all these all these types. Okay. Then gate 7 is the psychopathic arrogance gate. Eventually, you cannot remain arrogant for too long without reaching a sort of neurosis, psychosis, and I'll begin in the next video.